Welcome back to the deep dive. I was looking over the VIZ Media lineup for fall 2026 this morning, and I really got to say, the first thing that hit me wasn't even the titles themselves.
Oh, what was it then?
It was the sheer, the physical weight of this announcement. I mean, we aren't just talking about a few standard paperbacks hitting the shelves here.
Right, it's definitely a lot more substantial this time around.
Exactly. We're talking about massive box sets, actual board game components, hardcover cookbooks. Honestly, it feels like VIZ is trying to reinforce the floorboards of our apartments with all this paper.
It is a dense list. I think the word feast was used in the official press release, and for once that actually doesn't feel like marketing hyperbole to me.
It really is an anime and manga feast, and it's going to take over your bookshelf if you aren't careful.
But what struck me immediately is how this lineup signals a real shift in what manga actually is as a product these days.
How so?
Well, we are moving so far away from that disposable weekly phone book magazine era. This list feels like a transition into something much more permanent. High-quality editions, pack-ins, things like that.
Right. It is the whole artifact concept. You aren't just buying a story anymore. You are buying a piece of furniture for your room.
That is a great way to look at it.
And the mission of our deep dive today is really just to sort through all this noise. VIZ dropped a massive list, and we want to identify the gems for every type of reader out there, from the hardcore collectors to the home cooks, which we will get to later.
Yes, the culinary side of things is a fascinating addition.
But I feel like we have to start with the titans, the massive box sets, because the box set game this fall is just aggressive.
It really is. Where do you want to start?
The one that immediately grabbed my eye, mostly because of the emotional baggage attached to it, is My Hero Academia box set 2.
Ah, yes. The finale.
The finale. The source material emphasizes very clearly that these are the final volumes of the superhero saga.
Which is a huge deal. It was a massive cultural moment when it wrapped up.
Totally. But looking at the specs of this specific box, it isn't just a container for the comic. There is a 48-page booklet included that really stood out to me.
That booklet is the key differentiator here.
Right, because if you are a fan, you have likely already read these chapters on the app.
Exactly. You know the plot, you know how it ends. But that booklet contains author Kohei Horikoshi's personal notes and illustrations.
And that is a very specific value proposition for a fan.
It is. In the current market, that behind-the-scenes access is what drives physical sales. Fans want to get inside the creator's head.
It almost feels like a debrief. Like after a series that ran for that long, with that much intense pressure on the creator, getting a 48-page look inside his brain is almost more valuable than the chapters themselves.
I completely agree. Fans are desperate to understand the intent behind the ending. Why wrap up the villain arcs that specific way? A booklet like this transforms the box set from a simple storage unit into a primary source document for the fandom.
It's like the director's commentary track on a DVD from back in the day.
That is a perfect comparison. Plus, they throw in a double-sided poster, which certainly doesn't hurt the value.
No, wall real estate is always at a premium. Though if we are talking about premium real estate, we have to talk about One Piece.
Box set 5.
Box set 5 is dropping, and it covers volumes 91 to 111. And narratively speaking, this is a really weird chunk of story to bundle together.
It is a fascinating cross-section of the series, for sure.
Because you have got the Wano arc, which is this incredible high fantasy, feudal Japan samurai drama, and it's sitting right next to the Egghead arc, which is pure retrofuturism sci-fi.
It's literary whiplash.
It is, in the best way possible.
It definitely highlights Oda's incredible range as a creator, but I also think the inclusion of both the Wano and Egghead arcs in a single box set solves a pacing issue.
You mean from when it was releasing weekly?
Yes. Wano was long. Very, very long. Reading in a binge format where you can transition immediately into the fast-paced, lore-heavy Egghead arc likely changes the reading experience significantly.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes the slog feel much more like an epic journey.
Exactly. But there is another element to this box set that we need to discuss. The extra item.
Oh, the pack-in. Yeah, this made me stop and actually laugh at the sheer brilliance of it. Because it is not just a poster this time.
No, it is a vibrant playmat for the One Piece card game.
Which is just a masterclass in vertical integration by VIZ.
It really is. Merging reading with gaming is a very smart acknowledgement of the broader fandom ecosystem.
The card game is absolutely massive right now. I go to my local shop and the One Piece nights are just packed with people. By tossing a playmat into the manga box set, They're basically saying that the reader and the player are the exact same person.
Or, at the very least, they are trying to ensure they become the same person.
Right, hooking them on both.
It bridges the gap between passive consumption, like reading the volumes, and active participation, which is the gaming side.
Yeah.
It keeps the consumer inside the One Piece ecosystem for much longer.
You finish the volume, you unroll the mat, and you play a few rounds. It turns the physical book into a utility for your hobby.
It makes the IP a lifestyle.
Which is brilliant marketing. And then, rounding out the massive box sets, we have the Jujutsu Kaisen complete box set.
And the word complete there carries a lot of weight.
It hits different, doesn't it? It carries a sense of finality that the One Piece set obviously lacks.
Completely.
It has all 30 volumes, the entire demon-infested world from start to finish. There is something deeply psychologically satisfying about that to me.
Well, it appeals to a totally different type of collector.
The completionist.
Exactly. With One Piece, you buy box set 5 knowing full well you are going to need box set 6 in a few years. But with JJK, you buy this and you are done. The closed loop.
The circle is closed.
And JJK is such a dense, high-octane series with a very specific stylized aesthetic. Having that entire run, along with the stylized double-sided poster they include, creates a very unified visual statement on a shelf.
It's a monument to the series. So we have the Shonen Titans locking down the shelf space, which is expected. But what I found really refreshing about this fall 2026 list is how hard VIZ is pivoting into other genres.
The genre diversity is very significant this year. They are casting a wide net.
The one that I keep coming back to because it genuinely surprised me is, and then there were none.
The Agatha Christie adaptation.
Yes, an official manga adaptation of a classic Agatha Christie mystery. I mean, I grew up reading Christie. The plot is iconic. 10 strangers, an isolated island, a chilling murder mystery where people drop one by one.
It is a foundational text for the mystery genre.
It is. But translating that specific type of British literature into a manga format, I was very intrigued by that crossover.
It sounds counterintuitive at first glance. We typically associate manga with motion, action, and high energy, while Christie's work is all about dialogue, pacing, and internal suspicion.
Right, it's people sitting in drawing rooms looking at each other.
But if you think about it analytically, visual storytelling might actually heighten the tension of a whodunit in ways text cannot. Manga could be the perfect medium for it.
How so? Walk me through that.
It comes down to pacing and framing. In a novel, the author has to spend a paragraph describing a look of suspicion or the layout of a room.
Sure.
In manga, the artist can draw a single striking panel of an eye narrowing, or drop a sweat, or a long shadow stretching ominously across a room. The visual language can ratchet up the paranoia instantly.
That is a great point. You can have a panel where everyone is just sitting at the dinner table, but the framing makes the reader feel totally claustrophobic.
Exactly. A skilled manga artist can manipulate negative space to create a sort of visual silence. It makes you feel uncomfortable. You aren't just reading the mystery anymore. You are seeing the tension.
It modernizes the delivery without changing the classic plot. I feel like it's a great entry point for you if you find classic British literature a bit dry.
It breathes new life into it.
Now, we have another adaptation sitting on the list, but coming from a very different origin. The Apothecary Diaries, Mao Mao's notes on the Inner Palace.
This is a juggernaut in its own right. An official manga adaptation originating from a wildly popular light novel series.
It is huge. But again, such a different vibe from the standard battle manga. The themes here are intrigue, herbal remedies, and daily life within the Inner Palace.
It is a very cerebral series.
It is basically a medical procedural mixed with high-stakes political drama.
And the source material for this release highlights the beautiful color art and a bonus story included in the volume, which adds a lot of value for fans.
The art is stunning, but the core appeal really is the protagonist, Mao Mao.
Absolutely. She isn't fighting with a sword or energy blasts. She is fighting with a deep, almost obsessive knowledge of poisons and medicine.
I always describe her as Sherlock Holmes, but if he were a grumpy apothecary in a historical imperial court...
That is a very fair comparison. It caters to the reader who wants a dense, interwoven plot where the stakes are life and death, but the battles are fought in whispers and teacups.
It balances out the intense action of the lineup nicely. Now, I want to move to a section of the list I have been mentally calling the auteurs.
The unique visions.
Exactly, because there are a few creators here who are just doing their own thing. They're not following any standard template. And Paru Itagaki is at the top of that list for me.
The creator of Beastars.
Right, and if you have read Beastars, you know her work can get delightfully weird.
It is highly original.
Her new title is called Witching Hour, and the premise is wild. It is about a woman entangled in a dangerous yet irresistible affair with a ghost.
It signals a distinct shift towards something much more mature.
Yeah, the source describes the themes as a mix of marital woes and supernatural romance.
Which is a heavy cocktail. Marital woes is certainly not a typical shonen manga trope. It sounds like a mature, fresh take.
It really does. It explores adult relationships and grief, and probably the way we hold on to the past, which the ghost literally represents.
And Itagaki has a very unique, expressive, and slightly chaotic art style. Applying that raw energy to a story about a woman having an affair with a ghost, it is going to be visually striking.
And probably pretty psychologically heavy. It sounds like it is going to hurt to read, but in the best possible way.
A good emotional gut punch.
Speaking of emotional gut punches, we have to talk about Inio Asano. His new title on the list is simply called Heroes.
Asano is the undisputed master of exploring bittersweet reality.
The description here says, it is an adventure that questions who remains once the dust settles. And looking at that, I could not help but connect this back to My Hero Academia from earlier in our deep dive.
It is a perfect thematic foil.
Right. We started by talking about the ultimate celebration of superheroes, and now here is Asano seemingly deconstructing that entire concept from the ground up.
While one series celebrates the ideal of the superhero, this title seems to tear it apart. My Hero Academia asks, how do I become a hero? Asano's Heroes seems to ask, what is the bittersweet reality behind the concept of heroism?
It's asking what happens when the heroism is over and you just have to live with the damage.
It is the hangover after the parade. He takes grand concepts and drags them down into the messy, uncomfortable reality of everyday human existence.
So if you buy the MHA box set for the rush of adrenaline, you buy Heroes for the quiet introspection.
It is actually very bold of VIZ to put them in the exact same seasonal lineup. It shows they understand their audience has grown up and wants both sides of that coin.
But sometimes that same grown-up audience just wants to see some cool ninjas without having an existential crisis.
Which brings us nicely to Black Torch.
Yes, the ultimate palate cleanser. The plot is straightforward. A boy saves a mystical black cat and immediately gets involved in a massive war between ninjas and demons.
It is a classic, bulletproof recipe for an action series.
But the format here is what makes it interesting to me. They are releasing a complete box set of all 5 volumes.
This is a great example of the low barrier to entry strategy.
Right, because not everyone wants to commit to 111 volumes of One Piece.
Exactly. Sometimes you just want a tight, action-packed story that you can start and finish in a single weekend.
And packaging Black Torch as a complete set, complete with an exclusive poster, makes it a very easy impulse buy for a fan.
It is low-risk, high-reward entertainment.
Okay, we have covered the action, the mystery, the drama. Now we have to talk about the horror.
You cannot talk about unique visions in manga without bringing up Junji Ito.
You really can't. But this release isn't just a standard manga volume. The source specifically calls it a horror picture book. And it is titled Looking at Me.
That distinction is crucial. Calling it a picture book implies a very different reading experience.
How so? Is it just that there are fewer panels on the page?
It implies a completely different relationship with the page turn itself. In traditional manga, you have a flow. Your eye moves quickly across multiple panels to create a sense of motion and progression.
You are rushing to see what happens next.
Right. But in a picture book, you are dealing with full-page splashes. You are forced to dwell on the single image.
Oh, that actually makes it sound so much worse.
Much worse. If Junji Ito is illustrating a book called Looking at Me, and you have to stare at a full-page illustration of something horrible staring right back at you, that creates a static, creeping dread.
Fast-paced manga panels can't really replicate that specific feeling.
No, they can't. It is utilizing the physical medium of the picture book to trap the reader in the room with the monster. It guarantees chills.
Well, the source promised a spookier vibe and guaranteed chills, and I believe it. Just thinking about it is giving me goosebumps.
It is definitely for the brave readers.
Okay, let's pivot. We need to wash the psychological horror out of our brains immediately. We need the lighter side of the lineup.
Fortunately, VIZ provided plenty of comedy and coziness this fall.
Starting with Yakuza vs. Cat, I feel like I don't even need to explain the plot of this one. The title does all the heavy lifting for us.
It really does. It is a comedic clash. The hardened, dangerous ex-Yakuza member vying for dominance in a household against a feisty stray cat.
It is the ultimate juxtaposition. And I am willing to bet the cat wins every single time.
Of course. Watching an intimidating criminal struggle to just exist in the same apartment as an agent of chaos like a house cat is comedy gold.
The stakes are incredibly low, but the characters treat them like it is life and death. The absurdity of that dynamic sounds like so much fun.
It is a great subversion of the tough guy trope.
Now, for the fantasy lovers listening who want something epic, maybe a bit more romantic, we have Yona of the Dawn.
A very beloved epic journey. It deals with betrayal, survival, and a massive quest.
But the release format is the news here. It is coming out in a special 3-in-1 edition.
Which is significant for this specific title. The source material mentions the lush illustrations of the series.
Right. Shoujo fantasy manga often features incredibly detailed costumes, intricate backgrounds, and delicate line work.
And the larger, thicker format of a 3-in-1 edition allows that art to breathe a bit more on the page. It makes the physical book feel more like a grand saga.
But here is where the VIZ lineup takes a left turn that I absolutely love. We have talked about reading manga, we have talked about gaming with the playmats, and now VIZ wants us to cook.
The culinary corner. This is perhaps the most fascinating part of the announcement to me.
We are getting 2 major releases here. Kiki's delivery service, the official cookbook, and Takumi, a little Japanese bakery.
It is that lifestyle expansion we touched on earlier with the card game.
Okay, but with Kiki, the source document specifically mentions that you get the recipe for the herring and pumpkin pot pie.
Ah, yes. The famous pie from the film.
The exact one the ungrateful granddaughter didn't want. I have literally been thinking about what that pie tastes like since I was a child watching the movie.
And that is exactly why this product exists. It offers a chance to recreate magic from the film in your own home. It is about emotional connection through a sensory experience.
You're right.
You have seen the movie. You know the story intimately. But smell and taste are incredibly powerful memory triggers. By baking that specific pot pie, you are physically stepping into the scene.
You are participating in the narrative in a way that just watching a screen or reading a page doesn't allow.
It expands the anime experience into your actual lifestyle and kitchen.
It stops being a drawing and starts being your dinner. And then the other book, Takumi, offers 80 Japanese-inspired cheesecake recipes.
80 is a staggering amount of cheesecake.
It is, but it fits the culture, right? We see these perfect, fluffy cheesecakes in anime all the time.
We do. There's a massive subset of the fandom that loves the specific cozy aesthetic of Japan. The cafes, the bakeries, the beautifully presented food.
And these cookbooks are catering directly to the people who want to bring that cozy anime aesthetic into their real lives.
It is telling the fan, you don't just have to watch the characters eat this delicious food. You can learn to make it and eat like them too.
It really reinforces the idea that fandom in 2026 isn't just about passive consumption anymore. It is about habitation. You live in the fandom.
You read the Jujutsu Kaisen box set, you play the one-piece card game on your new mat, and then you go to the kitchen and bake the Kiki pot pie. VIZ is covering every hour of your day.
It is a total lifestyle takeover. So stepping back and looking at this entire stack of news we just went through, what is the big summary takeaway for you? We have got the intense finality of MHA, the expansion of One Piece, the intellectual intrigue of an Agatha Christie adaptation, and the coziness of baking cheesecakes.
The diversity of the lineup is incredible. But the main takeaway for me is that physical media is adapting by becoming more intensely physical.
What do you mean by that?
Well, digital reading is incredibly convenient. It is easy, it is fast, and it takes up no space. So to convince someone to buy a physical object in 2026, it has to offer an experience a screen simply cannot provide.
A screen cannot give you a physical playmat for your card tournament.
Exactly. A screen cannot give you a tactile 48-page booklet of handwritten author notes that feels like a private diary. And a screen definitely cannot be a beautifully bound cookbook you prop up on your kitchen counter while your hands are covered in flour.
It is the ultimate value-add strategy. Fall 2026 is offering experiences, not just reading material.
They are turning the story into an artifact. VIZ knows fans still want to own physical things, but those things need to be premium, tangible experiences.
Which leaves us with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on as we wrap up, maybe while eating some of that herring pot pie.
I'm intrigued.
As we see more and more of these physical pack-ins, The exclusive posters, the gaming mats, the bonus booklets, the recipes. Does the inclusion of these physical items change the way we actually value these stories?
That is the big question, isn't it? Does it turn a story into just an artifact?
Right. When you buy that One Piece box set, are you primarily buying it for Oda's brilliant writing? Or are you buying it because you desperately need that playmat for your local tournament next week?
It blurs the line. Does the book become a collectible first and a narrative second? Are we entering an era where the stuff surrounding the story is more important to the consumer than the story itself?
It is a fine line to walk. But honestly, as long as the story quality holds up, which with this specific fall lineup it certainly does, I think fans are just happy to have the extra stuff.
I tend to agree. The stories are still the foundation. The physical items just give us new ways to celebrate them.
I think you are right. My bookshelf might be groaning under the weight of all these boxes, but I'm definitely clearing space this fall.
It is going to be a heavy season.
Whether you are looking to solve a tense murder mystery with Agatha Christie, or you want to cry over a ghost with Paru Itagaki, or you just finally want to bake that perfect Japanese cheesecake, VIZ's Fall 2026 is looking like an absolute feast.
An expensive feast, but a very satisfying one.
Absolutely. Make sure to mark your calendars for the fall release window, folks. You won't want to miss these. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Happy reading, everyone.